microphone, and I tend to talk louder, so if y'all can't hear me, then say something, okay? And before we get started, Leah lost her phone, if anybody finds a phone.
That's me.
Leave it to the cowboy church people, okay, y'all? So, all right. Hi, I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ who has struggled with chemical and alcohol dependency in the past. I now struggle with depression and food addiction, and my name is Stacie.
Hi, Stacie.
I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ who has struggled in the past with drugs, alcohol, and sexual addiction. I am currently working on codependency and road rage and recently quit dipping. My name is Dewey.
Hi, Dewey.
4 days ago, y'all.
Early on, that'll cause some of the road rage.
Yeah.
Okay, I was born on December 30th, 1974 in Brownwood, Texas. Moving soon after to Abilene and then to Anson. I grew up with a dad who loved me and a mom who I now know loves me. Because you see, she struggled with mental health as well. And as a kid, I was left to pick up a lot of pieces, like doing the laundry at an early age and caring for my little brother. I spent much of my time trying to earn her love and often wondered if she even cared about me. We rarely saw eye to eye, as I was a headstrong redhead little girl who didn't understand, and because of that, I was often in trouble and was punished frequently with whatever was handy. Oh, oops, that's you.
I was born July 15, 1971 in Kingston, Tennessee, to a young mom and dad being drafted and sent to Vietnam. Vietnam changed my dad, according to many. The dad I knew was an abusive alcoholic who never missed an opportunity to set me straight. At 7 years old, I was abused by my neighbor and then my uncle. I never told anyone, and this was when I began to question my identity into adulthood and felt the need to prove my manhood through sexual flames.
As a teenager, I walked to a local church where I was saved at the age of 14. I participated in all activities, including Sunday school, GA, choir, and more. I was there every time I could be. It was an escape from the dark dreariness of my house. At 16, I was mowing the yard for a local pastor who took advantage of me while I was there. I never told anybody, because you see at our house, you didn't discuss such things and they weren't brought up. Dad and I continued to bond. He was my biggest fan and my cheerleader. And when he died at 17, my entire world fell apart and changed in a way I would have never predicted.
As a teenager, I struggled with authority and frequently found myself in trouble experimenting with different drugs. I also had the responsibility of helping raise my two younger brothers, missing school events to ensure they made theirs. So at the age of 19, as a way to escape, I joined the Army. While there, I quickly learned the effects of alcohol. I met and married a young lady soon after being stationed at Fort Hood in Killeen, Texas. She and I began to drink and party regularly with having an open sexual relationship. When she became pregnant, I enjoyed partying more because she was at home with our baby girl and couldn't keep tabs on me. A few years later, she became pregnant with our second child, a little boy we named David. God called him home. At just 4 months old. And my already shaky faith was shattered to nothing.
After my dad, I lost my way. I had quit going to church and alcohol was my coping skill of choice. During this time, I also experimented with different drugs. I was willing to do anything to remain numb. And then one day I decided to go back to church. I had been out all night partying. I was sexually active, drinking and doing drugs regularly at this point. I went to the one place that I thought I would be accepted, and that was church. But instead, I was to come back when I cleaned up. And in my messed up young brain, I believed that I had messed up too much for God, and He could no longer use me. I spent the next 25 years trying to find my worth in men, drugs, and alcohol. I met and married my ex-husband at the age of 25. I was already a single mom to a little boy and had just given birth to a little girl. I wanted more than anything to have a happy family, so we got married. And I spent the next 8 years in a verbally abusive relationship where I was called everything and anything you could imagine. I used alcohol and pills such as Xanax to cope with this relentless abuse. And when cell phones and texting were invented, it became all the more common, and it was nonstop. I left him after I found out he was cheating when our youngest boy was just 18 months old.
With the death of my 4-month-old David, I walked away from God completely. My wife and I divorced soon after, and she moved back to Texas. I followed not too long after to be close to my daughter. I began drinking and started working in the oil fields where partying is the lifestyle. I met my second wife during this time, and we had 2 boys together. Working 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off allowed me to live as a single man, so I spent much of the next 20 years drinking, doing drugs, and using women. She finally got tired of the drugs, drinking, women, and inconsistent parenting and left. I didn't care. I didn't change anything. I would meet and use women for as long as they met my needs. When they got clingy, I was out. No more strings for me. I firmly believed I wasn't doing anything wrong until one day I noticed my oldest boy doing and acting the same way I was. And at that moment, I realized something was missing in my life, but I didn't know what.
After my divorce, I went from being the submissive doormat wife to the other extreme as a workaholic, independent woman. I had a boyfriend who lived with us, and he was good to me, but he was also an alcoholic and had access to weed. So for the next several years, I lived a double life as a hardworking soccer mom, never missing any of the kids' events and filling in wherever needed. I used pills to get through the day and alcohol to get through the night. This was my life until my mom had a stroke in 2014 and I had to sign the hospice papers. I lost myself completely at this point and made choices that would forever alter my life journey once again, still believing that God didn't want me because I was too messed up. It wasn't long after this that I was invited to a cowboy church with my aunt. This is where I found that God never left me, and I rededicated my life to Him.
Amen.
My drinking slowed down, but I was still dating and using women until I met this one girl on Facebook dating. She came with strings. A lot of strings. I would have to go to Celebrate Recovery in San Angelo if I wanted to meet her. I went, I sat, I listened, and I didn't believe I needed this, but I had to go more than once if I wanted to see her. And the more I went, the more I began to realize what I was missing in my life. I was missing Jesus.
Amen.
I rededicated my life to Jesus and was baptized for the first time in October of 2021.
I was the girl with strings. In case you couldn't figure
Imagine
that
that.
out. And on January 8th, 2022, we were married. God brought these two broken people together, and we have since formed a fantastic life together. I am reminded of the verse in Jeremiah 18:4, where the potter reworks the clay from being something ugly into something beautiful. God is the potter and the author of our story.
Amen.
Allowing Jesus to heal me from the inside out has allowed me to mend relationships with my dad and my brothers. And I met my nephews for the first time when I went home after 17 years of holding on to anger and resentment. It is also restoring my relationship with my children because they no longer see me as a drunk and a womanizer, but as a Christian man. This is why my favorite step is step 8. Making amends hurts initially, but the healing and growth in relationships growth in relationships I have ruined is unbelievable and so freeing. Not only has he mended relationships, but I have also learned that some of the best learning experiences come when you are willing to get out of your comfort zone.
Amen.
For the last 3 years, I have been a teen sponsor for our summer youth camp, and I also help in the children's ministry when needed.
Amen.
I chose step 3 as my favorite. Turning my life and my will over to God is the step I struggle with daily. And each day I pray the step 3 prayer, praying that God's will be done, not my own.
Amen.
This step is the hardest for me, because as most of y'all know, I struggle with control issues. But when I do relinquish control and give it to God, His results and purpose are far bigger and more rewarding than I could ever imagine.
Yes.
Also, since getting married, our family has grown from 2 separate households to a family of 7 children and 5 grandchildren, 4 of whom we now see regularly. In my life, He has helped me heal my relationships with my son and daughter-in-law, as well as with the children's bonus mom. The healing of that relationship alone is a miracle that God did when I was willing to give Him control.
With the healing of my relationships back in Tennessee, we have made multiple trips out there, and I have been able to not only make amends with my dad, but also make peace with our relationship. My brothers and I continue to learn how to be a part of each other's lives, and because we now go back regularly, I have reconnected with my oldest and dearest friend. I also have a whole new network of Christian friends who have become my family.
Amen.
In the Army and afterwards, when I had no faith in God, I had one verse that guided my moral compass in a weird sinner's way. It was God's anchor that I didn't know He had. John 15:13. No one has greater love than the one who gives their life for their friends. As a soldier, I was willing to die for those who didn't believe in my purpose. And as a Christian, I am still willing to die for my calling and purpose.
Amen.
I have several verses that have become my favorite, but this one has gotten me through some of the worst times. Psalms 46:10. Be still and know that I am God. Learning to be still in God's presence is one of the hardest things I have ever done. Allowing myself to be in God's presence and heal is the only way to stay sober when Satan comes knocking.
Yeah.
Yes.
For the newcomers, this journey is hard, but it is worth it.
Yes.
The only way to make it is with help from Jesus and your CR family.
Amen.
I wish I could tell you that it was easy, but you made the hardest step by coming tonight.
Yeah.
And you now have an amazing support system that will be there through the ups and downs and will cheer you along in the process.
Amen.
Before this change in my life, when I hit rock bottom, I had to go to rehab, and I didn't go real willingly. I fought the process a little, but I knew that this is what I needed to be better, and the day that I was released, I found the closest Celebrate Recovery I could. I've always considered Celebrate Recovery at Texas Avenue my home group. This was where the work really began, and I now celebrate 5.5 years sober and clean and 2 years nicotine-free. I would not have been able to succeed in this journey without my CR family. Thank you for being a part of my forever family.
I too want to thank you for being a part of my recovery family. This program not only introduced me to my wife, but it also literally saved my life.
Amen.
Thank you for letting us share our story.
Thanks for sharing.